Okay, so I got this super chat, Patreon, PayPal super chat, asking me to do a review of a few videos. These videos. So we're going to do a review of some videos today. All right, let's get started, I guess. Don't care. So that we're gonna start with this one. This is a decent coffee. It's a moderately okay coffee. It is not the best coffee, so -5 points for Lavazza. It's a B-rated coffee, so he's already off on the wrong foot. Clearly, he should have a better coffee. Probably like Illy. Illy coffee is the superior coffee here, so -5 points. Decent coffee maker. Needs to be bigger though. It's not cold enough.
Oh motherfuck! Why is the milk gone?
Because you got a small container. Like what is with this tiny little container? Like you should get at least a 1 gallon jug. Whenever you buy milk, 1 gallon jug, whole milk. Whole milk is the correct milk for coffee, and that's probably the reason. You just didn't buy enough. It's your mistake for not buying a 1 gallon jug. That is the problem.
Well, because you forgot to buy milk, alright? And why did you forget to buy milk? Well, that's an interesting question. See,
It's because you're silly, that's why.
you were going to get some on the way home yesterday, but then you remembered you had to get some bread as well, so you went to the bread aisle.
Who buys bread? Bread is bad for you. Don't buy bread. Problem solved. Don't buy bread. There you go. So that is the number one problem here, is that he wasted time because he thought he should buy bread. Like who should buy bread ever? No one. No one should ever buy bread.
However, the alcohol aisle was on the way to the bread aisle, so you went there first, because recently you've been doing quite a lot of drinking alone, if by...
Well, I see another problem here. Like drinking. Don't drink. I don't drink. You know why? Because alcohol tastes like crap. That is another problem. So it seems like there's a stage of problems here. 1, you have crappy coffee. 2, you don't use whole milk in a gallon jug. And 3, you buy bread. Who buys bread? And 4, you drink. So all of those are problems of why the milk is gone. It's clearly your fault.
By recently, you mean the last 12 years. And they had this new 45% bourbon, which was pretty cool, which you bought and then forgot to buy milk. So really the milk is gone because of whiskey. But really you only went to buy whiskey because it's kind of been a cloudy day and you wanted to cheer yourself up a bit. And it's
Oh, well, that's a great strategy here. So to cheer yourself up, buy whiskey. Genius. Like clearly no problems.
only really been a cloudy day because of temperature differential over the Balkan Peninsula, brought on by east-moving winds and pressure fluctuations. So really the milk is gone because...
Clearly the clouds are caused by chemtrails. 100% chemtrails. Just chemtrails.
of the weather. But the weather is only really there because of the atmosphere, which formed about 4 billion
Yes, it is the atmosphere's fault. If the atmosphere was not there, there would be no clouds. That is true statement.
years ago as a result of gas escaping from the Earth's interior. So the milk is gone because of the Earth. But the Earth is only really there because a gas cloud condensed into the sun and the solar system a few billion years ago.
Condensed into the sun. If it condensed into the sun, that doesn't explain why the Earth is there. The Earth could still be there even if there was no sun. Like, it could just go around something else. Not a problem. Not the sun's fault.
And all of that came from the Big Bang, billions of years before that. So really the milk is gone because space and time materialized out of apparently nothing 14 billion years ago.
Oh god, this guy's been reading way too much Lawrence Krauss.
And if that's true, did the universe know 14 billion years ago that if she exploded, formed into galaxies and stars, and they gave rise to planets, and the planets developed ecosystems, single-celled life, complex organisms, humans, human society, domestication of cows, the invention of coffee, milk and coffee, fridges, and finally you, that you would eventually run out of milk?
Yes. The answer is yes.
14 billion years later. Well, maybe. If you're playing pool or snooker or whatever, and you hit a ball at a certain angle at a certain speed, if you have a good enough computer you can say exactly where the balls are going to go, right? It's all predetermined. If you took exactly the same shot 1,000 times, the balls would do the same thing 1,000 times. Well,
unfortunately, because of quantum mechanics, it doesn't work. Because randomness is a force in physics. Strange fact about physics, the consensus of physicists is that randomness is itself a force, and so that wouldn't happen. Oddly enough.
Well, if the Big Bang happened 1,000 times over, just the way it did 14 billion years ago, would you run out of milk 1,000 times 14 billion years later?
Nope.
And doesn't that mean your life is already determined? Like the date of your birth and death was already predicted the moment the universe came into being, and
Nope. It's called indeterminacy. Indeterminacy is the consensus, so it's not determined. It's the opposite of determined. It's random. It's random that the milk is gone.
everything has to happen in a certain order, just that way, just like a pool game. No, definitely not. We've got free will, right?
That is the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Like, there's no such thing as free will. Free will is an incoherent concept. You either do things for reasons and it's determined by those reasons, or you do things for no reasons and it's random. Those are your options. There's no free will.
I mean, just because the universe is made of atoms bumping into each other that have to act in a certain way based on what happened before, and just because your brain is made of atoms that have to do the same thing and it's all part of the same system, you can still just decide to do stuff, right?
No.
Because otherwise we're just balls in a cosmic game of pool with no free will at all, meaning we're just robots caught in a deterministic system with just an illusion of choice.
Nope. Indeterminacy.
But really having no control whatsoever over our own lives, deluding ourselves into thinking we're somehow different to all the other atoms in the universe, and that would mean you've never made a real choice and you never will, and whatever you decide to do next in life isn't a decision at all but was always going to happen. And there's no point to ever doing anything ever again because everything was pre-decided at the beginning of time and life is completely meaningless and empty and fuck it, black coffee is fine.
No, it's not. Black coffee is not fine.
Are you worried?
Black coffee is disgusting. No one should ever drink black coffee. Also, I agree, exurb1a's channel is meaningless and you should give me all subscribers right now.
About the future. Are you concerned for your species' survival? Are your tentacles lacking wetness or even chapping slightly? Well, for the last one, try Octomoist. Octomoist. Moistness when it matters. Not suitable for heptapods. For the first two though, well, it's time to play another game of Wheel of Future History. Our next contestant today...
Thank you for the super chat, Frank. Appreciate it. No, black coffee on ice is still not as good, Phil. Vietnamese iced coffee is phenomenal with, what's it called? Condensed cream, the very, really thick stuff. It's great. Black coffee sucks. Anyone who disagrees is wrong.
Today is called... Fuck are they called? Ah yes, humans. Yes, well, come on up then, don't be shy. Yes, big hand for the monkeys, big hand. Yes, that's enough, shut up. Right, humans, you know the rules of the game, do you? No? Well, the main aim of Wheel of Future History is not to go extinct as a species. Your species, well, let's just say things are about to get a little bit bumpy. Now, Marjorie here, Marjorie, wake up, you lepton! Is going to give the Wheel of Future History a spin and find out where the human species is going. Could be amazing, could be mega shit. So let's see what you could end up winning.
It's tech. It's going to be tech, AI, tech, galactic. Political, nope, that's going to garbage. Science, yes. AI, yes. Eco, no, garbage. Galactic, probably. Tech, yep. AI, science, yep. Eco, nope, garbage.
Well, firstly, there are the utopias. They come in several flavours. There is technological utopia. You might master automation, relieving all humans of labour jobs, banishing any need for human employment, allowing your species to, well, pursue whatever they want to.
No. What happens is we get that and then become pandas. We will all be pandas. All pandas. They're going to have to show us porn videos to get us to reproduce because we're just going to be so lazy and just hang around and play video games all day. We will literally be pandas. That's what's going to happen when we get this, and that's a good thing.
Robotics and algorithms will tend to almost all unwanted work and facilitate blissful daily living. Since there'll be no scarcity, there will be almost no conflict, meaning war vanishes and humans live perpetually in peace forevermore, mostly eating nice food, reproducing very loudly, and having a jolly old time. Okay, I hear you ask, but will there be dogs? Yes, there will. There's also AI utopia. Machine intelligence is able to assist, if not take over, a number of human projects, including science, design, administration, and diplomacy, and streamlines and improves each area respectively, and radically raises the general global standard of human living for all, and no Skynet shit. There's also scientific utopia.
Oh, we are definitely getting Skynet shit. Like, one of the things that's going to happen once we get AIs is it's going to Skynet the shit out of one of the countries we don't like Russia, China, dictators, North Khmer Rouge, if once we get AIs, somebody's going to get Skyneted the shit out of, and it's probably going to be the country who makes it doesn't like.
Aging is treated as an illness and cured. Disease has also been eradicated. Death has become
I don't know why this guy has 2.3 million. This is lame. I should have 2.3 million. He should have 10k.
Voluntary. Particle physics is finished, and a successful theory of everything unites general relativity.
Yes, King. At the very beginning of the video, I said I was paid got a PayPal. Showed a picture of the PayPal with the name blocked out. And I was paid to do responses to these things. So, okay. You want me to do responses? Send me PayPal.
In quantum mechanics. Cold string theory. The origin of biology is understood. Toast no longer falls butter
Wait,
side
what? Quantum mechanics and string theory are separate things, by the way?
down. Consciousness is explained scientifically. The mechanisms of reality itself are now out in the open. And your race is no longer a bimbling pack of confused idiots. No offense. Then there's ecological utopia.
That's not going to happen. So first thing is when we become pandas, the AI are going to be really smart. We're still going to be pretty stupid. We're going to be stupid little pandas playing video games. We're not going to get smarter. We're going to be just as dumb.
Your species begins living in harmony with nature, stops being dicks to the planet, and returns to a subsistence way of living in conjunction with high technology. Industry still exists, but is entirely sustainable, and Mother Nature is allowed to reassert her sovereignty.
What? Why are you... Those are nuclear power plants. Those are great for the environment. Like, there's literally nothing caused damage here other than the nuclear waste, which we could just, like, reinvigorate. Bill Gates is actually working on the ability to use decayed uranium-238 in order to reinvigorate it and put it back into nuclear power plants. These are, like, the least damaging ones. These are the good ones that you're blowing up.
Over the planet.
This is Germany, where they just disassembled all of their nuclear plants and are now trying to go back to them because they're completely contingent on Russia's natural gas. Nuclear is good.
Everything is kind of organic, but not shit.
Correct. Nukes are good.
And hipstery, just nice. Political utopia. Political conflict is rendered pointless, and citizens never have to worry about their offspring ending up in wars. Governments are able to put their energy and influence into improving the welfare of their own citizens, and the world goes full-on Scandinavian.
Ha! 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 Nope.
Oh yeah, cake is free all the time, and also there are dogs. And finally, the main prize, galactic utopia. You begin colonizing other planets in the solar system, and maybe even perfect faster than light travel. And colonize other star systems.
Wait, what? How? What? We're gonna perfect faster than light travel. We're gonna break physics? Like, that would be cool. But okay. Break physics.
Too. Even if there's an extinction event on your home planet, your race will now survive indefinitely up until all cosmic resources run out, or you reverse cosmic entropy itself. A golden age of trade and cooperation dawns, as well as exploration of the known and unknown universe, and humanity is unified into a single great empire. Humans finally take their rightful place in the heavens, utilizing entire galaxies for energy to fuel their godlike projects.
So again, I think he's missed the point here. Like, when we get to that point with AIs start taking over, humans are going to take a back seat. Even if we get to the point where we can merge AIs with human brains, our brains are still going to be slower than the computers. Just because of the way they work. So we're still going to be left in the dust by the computers. The computers are going to have goals, and they're going to do all the cool shit with the universe. We will be pandas. Humans will not have galactic goals here. Humans will play video games and be pandas. There will be no human controlling of anything, and that's a good thing. Humans are stupid. Pandas.
Knowledge and wisdom guide your civilization forevermore. Petty squabbles are a thing of the past. The very cosmos itself revels in your success. It goes without saying that there's free cake and dogs and stuff. But for every utopia, there is of course a dystopia. And if you bollocks up the future, you might instead get technological dystopia. Technology is instead used for controlling populations, including constant surveillance and mass misinformation. No one is...
Wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So even if we had all of this mass controlling people, that wouldn't necessarily mean it's a dystopia. It could still be perfectly great. So that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Considered an authority on anything anymore. Possibly humans are genetically engineered in such a way that they cease to be human. Almost.
That's, again, this is not a bad thing. Like, he says this is dystopia. Like, humans being genetically engineered, it would be really cool. Like, there was a TV show, Batman something or another, where they had, like, genetic splicing for humans and hyenas and shit, and that was awesome. Like, this is not a bad thing. You're complaining about things that would be really cool. Like, if everyone in the world was being watched all of the time, and, like, someone could always respond if someone was being attacked, there would be no more murder. That would be a good thing. Like, I see no problem with this whatsoever. Neither of those two things you listed are dystopian bad.
Most of their functions are outperformed by machines. Humans are obsolete and miserable, and technology serves to enslave.
Wait, why would we be miserable? Like, if we became pandas, we would not be miserable. We'd be pandas. Pandas are great. Pandas are awesome. Like, stupid. Just begging the question here with his political left-wing liberal agenda. That it's actually probably a right-wing agenda. That cameras are bad and that genetic engineering is bad. Like, no.
slave rather than liberate your species. AI dystopia, artificial intelligence either commandeers or subverts human history and does not have the species' best interests at heart, or is too powerful with not enough safety parameters. In short...
Okay, so I'm not... Again, the first thing he said, they're getting rid of history. Not sure that's a bad thing. Like, if we could just wipe out all of the dumb history of humans, that'd kind of be a good thing. That would make a huge step in getting rid of any kind of racism or bigotry, like no history bullshit. That would do it. That would be yeah, we don't really need the history crap. Like, if we just got rid of all history and replaced it with technology, that would be good. We could just stop teaching history in every high school ever. The world would be a better place. We don't need it.
Everything is either miserable or thermonuclear, and game over for the entire species.
Yeah, they wouldn't need to nuke us. If AIs wanted to kill humans, they could do it in a much more efficient way with bacteria and viruses, which literally don't affect computers. So, like, they could just engineer a virus and it would kill all humans and it would be over. Nuking things would not be the best solution here.
Ecological dystopia. You mess up the planet to the point of no return, overfish the oceans, ruin the atmosphere, etc. Earth is no...
Again, that wouldn't necessarily be a problem in a technocracy, because once the technology got to the point where we could do that, if we had those AIs, they could just fix it. They could just make new technology to fix those things. So again, once we get to that stage of technological dystopia, yeah, it's going to fix those problems. This is not a huge deal.
No longer capable of supporting mammalian life, and extinction ensues for your entire species. Political dystopia. Either Earth becomes united by a...
That's stupid. We're already there. Like, we are already in a political dystopia. There is no chance of a political utopia. People are too stupid. Politicians are too stupid. We're already there. This is a stupid argument.
Single tyrannical government, or most governments turn tyrannical, but in any case, it's horrific, and politicking has been perfected to such an extent that no one can effectively rise up against it. Possible lasting...
Oh, you mean like today?
Famine, enslavement, utter depravity and ruin for the species with no hope of recovery. Or the non-galactic scenario. Humans never bother with reaching other planets, let
Elon Musk just debunked your video.
alone the rest of the galaxy. A single mass extinction means total obliteration.
Thank you, GeoSam. My hair is my 10,000 subscriber goal, so that's why I did it, was because subscriber goal, people gave me 10,000.
For silly petrol monkeys, and a human space empire is never constructed. Mankind goes gentle into that good night. Wild animals reclaim the cities, satellites fall back to Earth, and within a few thousand years, passing extraterrestrials wouldn't even have an inkling your species ever existed, let alone flourished for a time. And there are a few other scenarios, of course. Maybe you merge with technology to become a cyber species, or there's a Nickelback revival tour, or political collapse returning you to the Dark Ages and never recovering, or
all those have happened.
You use genetics to elevate other species to the level of human sentience.
That's possible, but I don't, that'll be, we will get to that point eventually where we elevate other species to human intelligence. That will definitely be a thing.
And immediately regret that decision. Dolphins
utter depravity would be Nickelback, the Nickelback scenario. That's the utter depravity.
Fucking hate you, by the way. Or you create simulated reality that's so convincing and malleable, humans mostly lose interest in actual reality.
Thank you for the super chat, CD-lings. I never wanted to be a panda with AIs and technology taking care of everything more than I do now. Yes.
Assuming this is actual reality. Or you reach the end of technology and find out that lots of stuff just isn't possible.
The end of technology, like there's a limit. The end of technology is the laws of physics, and once we can change those, we're good.
And instead, stay content with free cake and dogs and stuff. Which is alright. Or one of 10 million other disaster scenarios.
Thank you for the super chat, Cosmic. Greetings from your European fans. Chair symbol.
Economic, political, technological, whatever, meaning the obliteration of your species. And that is the wheel of future history. And those are the rules. So how do you go about winning, then? Well, that's a bit more complicated. If you can wield technology your ancestors never dreamt of, and use that power in a way they would be proud. If you can utilize your birth planet without destroying it, yet still take all that you need. If you can kill labor without killing ambition. If you can create administrations without giving birth to tyranny. If you can think as a collective without losing individuality. If you can expand your reach without diminishing your integrity.
Absolutely none of that means anything. Like, literally none of that is that's all soundy good, wobbly bullcrap.
Your ancestors never dreamt.
Let's go back.
So how do you go about winning, then? Well, that's a bit more complicated. If you can wield technology your ancestors never dreamt of, and use that power in a way they would be proud. If you can...
Who gives a shit? I don't care if my ancestors would be proud. Like, the Christians would be proud if we just killed all the atheists. I don't give a crap. None of their proudness matters. Stupid statement.
Utilize your birth planet without destroying it, yet still take all that you need.
Utilize your birth planet without destroying it. I mean, even if we destroyed it, that'd kind of be fine as long as we could leave it. So that's not really a big deal either. Like, if we could sack all the resources from certain planets, it wouldn't really be a problem as long as we could maintain life in other locations. So again, that's not really an issue. Stupid statement.
If you can kill labor without killing ambition.
Kill labor without killing ambition. That's literally stupid. Those two things are completely opposite. Like, you can have ambition and not want to do labor. That's most people. Most people have lots of ambition and want to do no work. So that's not a problem. If we could kill labor, there would still be ambition. This is not a logical problem.
If you can create administrations without giving birth to tyranny.
As long as they're not human, once they're AI, problem solved.
If you can think as a collective without losing individuality.
Think as a collective without losing individuality. That's like a contradiction. That's like, be Borg, but don't be Borg. Like, we don't need to think as a collective. We don't need to think at all. We can be pandas. The AI can think. The AI can solve the problems. We can be individuals. Problem solved.
If you can expand your reach without diminishing your integrity. If you can unravel nature.
Expand your reach without what?
Without losing individuality. If you can expand your reach without diminishing your integrity.
Expand your reach without losing your integrity. Why do you put these words together in a sentence that makes literally no sense? Does going to space cause us to lose integrity? What a stupid statement. No.
If you can unravel nature without thinking yourself smarter than her.
What? Nature does not have a brain. I'm smarter than nature. Everyone is smarter than nature. Nature does not have intelligence. It's a dumb statement. Like, literally the whole point of technology is that, yeah, we're smarter than nature because nature kills things with evolution. The entire evolutionary process is super immoral and bad, and we should not allow that. Of course we're smarter than nature. Stupid statement.
If you can tame the elements without subverting them.
Why? If we contain the elements, that is subverting them, which is a good thing. If we could just prevent all hurricanes and tornadoes ever again, that would be a good thing. We could subvert nature, good thing. But I don't... He has some kind of obsession with nature. Nature is shit. Nature is the biggest enemy of humankind ever. It kills more people than anybody else. Like, yes, we want to subvert nature. Nature is shit.
If you can build your homes on distant worlds while still taking care of the home you evolved on.
Why does it? That literally doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, if we can just move every living species to another planet, and nothing was left on this planet, and this planet crashed into the sun, who cares? Like, that literally doesn't matter.
If you can safeguard for future generations without forgetting those who came before.
What? Again, means nothing. Means literally nothing. We can safeguard for future generations and completely forget everyone in the past, and there's no difference. Like, gibberish statement. Completely irrelevant.
If you can accept your violent past while still fostering your galactic future.
I have not punched anyone who didn't consent. So it doesn't... I don't need to... The violent past thing, not a thing. We don't need to remember any of that. We can just omit it all from history and forget completely. As long as we have a moral framework to move forward, we don't need to remember the past. It's a complete waste of time. No.
If you can spread across the stars without your empire spreading too thin.
What does that even mean? Empire spreading too thin? What, like, the whole reason that the Roman Empire was spread too thin was because there was another empire there who attacked them and they didn't have any military forces that could defend them. So what do you mean by spread too thin here? I'm not understanding. Like, are we going to be spread so much that we can't send food to other planets or something? Like, spread too thin is just a completely gibberish statement here. Like,
if you can take to the galactic stage without forgetting your lines.
Forgetting my lines? Like Shakespeare? Like, who cares? Irrelevant.
Then yours is the cosmos and everything that's in it. And more than that, then you'll be a mankind, my son. Then you'll be a mankind.
What does that even mean? Like, who cares? Giving up humanity isn't even a problem. Like, if we could just go to a different species and genetically modify ourselves to stop being human, that would be a good thing, not a bad thing. Who cares?
Well, it's time. Marjorie, spin the wheel, please. So, good luck. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you develop as a species, I guess. And you know, petrol monkeys, you've done some pretty stupid shit over the years, but there is cause for optimism. Because despite all of your idiocy, you've still somehow managed to find the time for... exploration, science, technology, culture, civilization, philanthropy, fiction, genius, collaboration, language, the arts, endeavor, curiosity, daring.
Thank you for the super chat, Jody W. Put this towards the Matt Dillahunty debate. Will do.
Persistence and rationality. Look, you've survived hundreds of thousands of generations, yeah? Famine, drought, and war, and you've got a global civilization now. You might be living on other planets in no time, or cracking the really big secrets of nature, or just getting over all your monkey rubbish and having a good time. You're gonna feel mighty silly if you screw it all up because you got too clever, or too fighty, or too apathetic. What do you think those are? They're not window dressing, they're an invitation. But you have to behave yourself until you get there, alright? For the sake of everyone who came before, and everyone who will come after. There may not be another chance now. Don't fuck it up, monkeys. Not before you conquer your primitive tendencies. Not before you spread out into space. Or at the very least, not before all your great ambitions have finally run dry.
That's a stupid looking spaceship.
And speaking of dryness, Wheel of Future History is proudly sponsored by Octomod. So you've just...
All right, what would I debate Dillahunty on? I would debate him on social justice stuff. Like, I think many of the left social justice arguments are the same as religious arguments, like saying that anybody who says that trans women aren't women is bigoted. That's the exact same as saying if you don't accept God, you're a sinner or whatever. Just because the book defines you as a sinner, or because Dillahunty or Vaush define you as a bigot, you're a bigot. So simply disagreeing on terms and definitions makes you a bigot. That's one of the things. There are many different arguments that they use about where something came from, genetic fallacy, or some people will use that in a bad way, slippery slope fallacy, and they're the exact same as the religious argument. So my debate against Dillahunty would be something on why social justice arguments are just as bad as theistic arguments in many cases, something like that.
Just invented time travel. Well done, you clever little sausage. Let's go back and fix human history then. Before you leave though, why not pack a suitcase? But what to take, what to take? Well, obviously shoes, toiletries, clothes, and depending on how your time machine works, how about a fucking spacesuit? Because if your time machine works like a teleporter, what do you think is going to happen when you push the go button? Let's say you want to pop just 5 hours back in time to breakfast. Well, the Earth is orbiting...
I saw a debate, Yo says, I saw a debate, you said your moral system tries to maximize choice. Have you seen Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice? His thesis is that too much choice can make us unhappy. Too much choice only makes us unhappy in cases like going to a superstore and seeing 10 billion different cereals or something. That is different from choice to like get stabbed in the face. So choice to like go to your own world or whatever is not the kind where you have infinitely many kinds of cereals to choose from. And also, since we have in my kind of best of all possible worlds, you can literally change your brain and emotions at will, then that wouldn't be a problem either. So Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice only applies to the pragmatic limitations of this world. It wouldn't apply to my model. What about labeling people left or right because someone defined it that way? I'm not sure what you mean. So neither of those are pejorative. They're just trying to make a distinction between different kinds of views. It's not, there wouldn't be a problem there. That was not an insult or anything. It's just saying that there's some group of people over there, we call them left, and some group of people there, we call them right. It's just a conceptual metric.
The sun at about 67,000 miles an hour. So you're not going to materialize at the kitchen table, you're going to materialize where the kitchen table will be in 5 hours.
That assumes that you have a shitty time travel device that doesn't account for that. If you had a good time travel device, it would account for that. Get a TARDIS.
Meaning the Earth is now 335,000 miles behind you. You doink. Alright, so let's say your time machine isn't a teleporter, but just... And that's even ignoring the fact that the Earth and Sun are also travelling through space together with the entire galaxy. And the galaxy is going at about 1.3 million miles an hour, so you'll probably just end up in interstellar space alone. And dead. And alone.
and dead. Yeah, but really, let's just say your time machine is... Well, I guess you could launch yourself in a rocket, fly out to where the Earth is going to be in exactly 5 hours, somehow traveling faster than the galaxy, good luck, then turn on your time machine and hope you got the calculations right so you don't end up materializing in the ground when it catches up with you. But really, okay, let's just say your time machine is... Yeah, but even then, what, you're just going to rematerialize in the air, are you? What about the air you're displacing when you pop out of nothing? How dense is a person? Well, about 985 kilograms per meters cubed. Well, air is about 1.2 kilograms per meters cubed. So when you arrive, there'll be a huge compression of matter as you materialize, causing at best a bit of a whoosh noise, and at worst, a cheeky touch of, oh, you know, nuclear fusion. So really, let's assume your time machine isn't a teleporter, but something friendly like a closed time-like curve or a wormhole or whatever. Great, so go wrestle Genghis Khan, piss in Caesar's lemonade. Now, down to business. From here in, we'll assume that A, the past can be changed, and B, you're a sociopath. Let's see if we can nudge humanity off in a better direction then, shall we? Step 1, don't be dead. Before going back in time, why not make sure you stay the fuck alive? Pack antibiotics, lots and lots of antibiotics, especially doxycycline if you're going anywhere near the bubonic plague. If you run out of antibiotics, and under no circumstances do this unless you are in fact a stranded time traveler, you can make very improvised penicillin by leaving moldy bread until it goes bluish. Also, if you aren't getting water from a well or the rain or an aqueduct, how about don't drink that shit ever? Boil all of your water first, then you'll need to filter it. Find something bottleish, add a layer of charcoal, layer of sand, hooray and a cheer, you just beat diarrhea. Step 2. Get clever. Before you go, read up on the basics of steam power, harmonic oscillators, pendulum clocks, germ theory, modern military strategy.
Oh my god, like none of this you need to do. Like if you wanted to change the past, the only thing you need to do is send a computer back. Problem solved. Literally none of this. Do literally none of this. Just send some books back with some information that people could read. Problem solved. Like if you want to change the future, you don't need to be there. You could just send information back, and when you wake up, the future will be more technological. Like that's all you need to do. Just send the information back. Send like a book. Send a book signed by God saying science. Just all of the science, and say God said so. Everyone would be religious, but the world would be a technocracy. Thank you for the super chat, the overgiver. Appreciate it. So like, if don't go back in time. Send information back in time. That would be the problem.
The monarchic history, the schematics of the printing press, and all the card tricks you can stand. Use a mnemonic technique to commit stuff to memory. A good one is the person action object system. Let's say you want to remember the dates of... Oh.
Is this Terminator style where you have to like go back buck naked? Like, bring a computer.
I don't know, solar eclipses for no reason in particular. We'll aim for memorizing about 30 of them, so pick ones in the time and location of whichever era you're going to. Now you'll need to remember the date of the eclipse and the exact time of day. Now come up with at least 10 people, 10 actions, and 10 objects. So let's say we're trying to remember the number 326. Well, 3 in the people list is Winston Churchill, 2 in the objects is wash, and 6 is a unicorn. So Winston Churchill washing a unicorn. 326 is easy to forget, but good luck getting that image out of your head though. Next, memorize any embarrassing secrets we now know about the monarchy of the time you're going to, and congratulations, you now have the foresight of a god. Now pack some gold and silk, a nylon and a laser pen and an air horn and some special chockies because, yeah. Personally, as an English native speaker, I would wander back to 14th century England because A, it's before the Enlightenment and people will be way easier to bullshit, and B, further back and there isn't enough metallurgy and they'll be speaking Old English. But it's your time machine, do whatever.
That's a terrible idea. Like, let's go back to a time period where people will most likely kill you. Great idea. Like, so if you're going back to a time period where people are very primitive and you know stuff like that they don't know, you're going to get burned as a witch. It's a great idea. Phenomenal idea.
Off your fuck then. Upon arriving, if I were you, I would rig your time machine so you can't possibly go back before whenever you've landed. Otherwise, if you screw up, you might be tempted to go back again and again and interfere with yourself, creating a shitstorm of temporal paradoxes. Anyway, welcome to the past. It smells weird and everyone talks funny. So step 3 then, become a living deity. But first, remember that English is a bit of a work in progress, and even just decades back from our own century and you'll sound suspicious. Stick to the 100 most common words in modern English and you'll hopefully be alright. Still, if you open your mouth in public, you're boned. Locate someone vaguely trustworthy but not too clever, give them some gold, make sure they understand your instructions. From now on, they speak for you. Next, you need to dress up in all that silk and nylon. Nylon won't be invented until 1935 and silk is still rare in Europe at the time. People will love that shit. Now introduce modern music. The rhythms are so alien that people will immediately flock to it.
Oh, that sounds like a stupid idea. That's going to be witchcraft. Like, yes, a great idea. Let's introduce new music. No one has ever rebelled against that idea. Never happened. Like African Americans, when they introduced new music, no one fought against that.
My milkshake brings all the lads to the courtyard. They're like, it's better than yours, Jehovah. It's better than yours. I could teach you, but I'll check with the priest. Grand. Next, go out in the streets and get your spokesperson to announce the next solar eclipse, which you've memorized. People are going to freak out a bit, so let off your air horn a few times, flash your laser pen about a bit, make a song and dance of it, yeah? When the solar eclipse happens, immediately announce the next one and claim it's you doing it. If people say...
So this strategy is shit. This is a completely shit strategy. A better strategy is bring guns. Like, bring a gun back, show people how to build a gun, build a society of people who make guns, and then you can then conquer the world. So... This is stupid. Bring guns, bring gun technology to before when they had gun technology. Then you could take over the world. That would be a good one. This one not so much. And agriculture also. So you want to bring technology that can benefit the lives of people, so they're most likely to not kill you, and guns. Problem solved. Thank you, Overgiver. Which philosopher or public figure would you consider to be the current four horsemen of atheism? I think Harris is still pretty good. Dawkins is still pretty good. Joe Rogan is extremely influential right now. I mean, if I'm talking about people who are the most influential, Joe Rogan's up there. So yeah, it's hard to say since I don't really, but if we're talking specifically about atheism, Harris is still up there. Dawkins is still up there. And I hope to be up there eventually. But I don't know who else would be a good example. Like, we need some big atheist politicians. That would be good. We need an atheist church. If we had an atheist church, that would be the four horsemen. Yep, rip Hitch.
Hey, you didn't do that. Just say, yes, I did. Teach your followers basic hygiene, teach them modern battle strategy, teach them the foundations of royal rule and how flimsy it is. People might talk funny in the past, but power still relies on more or less the same foundations as today, namely weapons and money. The monarchy will send an army and they will attempt to make you dead. You can't win against that however clever you are. So
yes, you can. Guns.
Instead, incite revolution. Most of the monarchs of the time retain their power by the threat of violence. And
that's stupid. Inciting a revolution is like one of the least successful methods ever. Like, non-violent protests actually have more effect than violent protests. What you want to do is conquer. Bring guns. Bring guns to a society. Make them like you. Conquer world. And that's what you want. Use guns to conquer land. Build more guns. Get more people. Shoot stuff.
The promise that God put them there.
Bring the chair.
By divine right. Invent Gutenberg's printing press decades before Gutenberg. Begin churning out pamphlet after pamphlet laying out the embarrassing secrets of the current king. Step up antibiotic production, cure people of basic ailments, move you and your followers to a remote patch of the countryside, declare it independent, give it a flashy name, perform miracles every now and then. Card tricks will go down really well probably, people haven't seen them before in Europe. Have your followers track down the finest engineers of the day. I would recommend Filippo Brunelleschi and Guido de Vigivano. Begin constructing basic steam engines, use them to pump clean water up from the ground for all your mates and followers. Have an elaborate underground temple built for you. Disappear inside with your time machine, only let your spokesperson come out and give orders. Leave behind extremely specific instructions about how to begin the Industrial Revolution early and grow your army and maintain your future empire and design good irrigation. Finally, have a very basic periscope constructed and stick it out the top of your temple. So let's travel a few decades into the future and see how everything is going. Slowly accelerate the passage of time. Day and night will begin to pass visibly in front of you until the sun appears a single golden line across the twilight sky. The seasons fleeting by in seconds. The fevered commotion of insects no more than a blur, than the flurry of passers-by outside, of generations waxing and waning, of great structures built in your name. The fingerprints of science and philosophy born long before its time. The drumbeat of industry coming alive. The development of modern medicine, of scientific materialism, of the mastery of nature, of the acknowledgement of the right of...
So are we immortal here? Because if we're immortal, then... we don't really need to worry about a lot of this stuff.
All humans to exist in a state of international equanimity. The dawn of an age where millions need not die of disease, of hardship, of war. You steer humanity now. There have been leaders and thinkers and sages throughout history, but none of them had your advantages. Now you can refashion history in the image of dignity and kindness and universal concern for every human alive, and all of it presided over by you, half human, half deity, moral, just, indomitable, indefatigable. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in apprehension how like a god, Well, I mean, not a god technically, because people can still revolt against you and you can't do anything about it. So let's try a few changes in tactic. To protect your master plan, direct technology towards absolute surveillance of the population, towards a perfect political science, towards total hegemony. If you want to help humanity, you'll need to live a long time, so order your scientists to research a cure for aging. Drop by to collect the rewards of...
If we went back to... So I think I see a problem here. So we go back to the 1400s, while we're presumably 20-something, maybe 30-something. Then we're going to survive 700 years... and then order our scientists to make aging things. I see a problem. I see a problem here. How do we survive the 700 years in between those two periods?
the new sciences and become immortal. Enhance yourself with electronic augmentation. The problem with humanity...
I think he did this in the wrong order. First, you'd have to do all this stuff, and then you'd have to go back in time. Like, if you did this stuff after, you wouldn't survive. And if you could do this stuff, then you wouldn't need all the antibiotics crap he mentioned in the beginning, because you're already immortal. So, he got the order wrong.
Too much freedom and leisure time. Remove both. Ban books. Ban mass communication.
Why? What would be the benefit of doing either of those things? That's just stupid. Like that's what the Muslims did. Muslims banned books and free time and math, and it just caused a collapse of their society. Like, just Google capitalism. Capitalism works. Just do capitalism.
Undisputed. Technology in your left hand, power in your right. Dropping in occasionally to make alterations or dispense great justice and retribution in the name of peace. Shepherd humans out to the local planets, establish colonies, then spread out to the stars. Create a galactic empire, rule with imperious malice lest humanity revert back to its bad habits. There'll be no love except the love of you. There'll be no art, no literature, no science. Total domination.
It's just stupid. It's literally just stupid. Why are you adding all the stupid in for no reason?
Unimaginable power, unlimited rice pudding. Who could stand in your way now? Who would fucking dare? As monarch of the galaxy, as pilot of history, as god emperor of time.
Darling, I'm just putting the kettle on. Do you want something?
Oh, for fuck's... What does that say on the door, Mum?
25 metres swimming certificate for...
No, the other one.
Don't come in, recording.
Right, so...
Well, sorry, I just wanted to know if you
No,
wanted
it's
a cup of...
too late. I've lost my whole megalomaniac shtick. Just Earl Grey and milk, no sugar. And can you bring the special biscuits in, please? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Where'd you come up with that title, genius? On the fucking toilet? Well, yes, actually. And that's because today we're mainly going to be talking about consciousness and... Jesus, what the fuck? Fear. Fear is an automatic response in your brain to perceived scary shit. But fear itself is not under your conscious control. It is automatic, and if it's automatic, then that is not you. It is a thing your brain does, but it is not a thing that you do.
You are your brain. It's still you.
Conscious you. So presumably, there's stuff in your brain you don't control, and then there's stuff in your brain that you do control.
Not really. It's mostly stuff you don't control.
Stuff that is you. Let's find out where the line is then, shall we? Well, for most of the day so far, you've been blinking and breathing automatically.
Yo, asked, T-Jump, are you still going to release a book? Yes. I need publishers. I was writing a book with Samuel, but he went through a lot of problems during COVID, so he is on the back burner for now.
Congratulations, keep it up, but now you're thinking about it, so you're doing it manually. Anyway, you'll forget about it in a few minutes, and all of that will become automatic again. So that is not you. Okay, what next? Well, what about the things you like? Surely we choose those. Let's say your music taste, for example. Good music activates the part of the brain dealing with euphoric reward response, or the bit that makes you feel nice. Okay, fine, but did you choose to prefer Metallica over Beethoven, or over the blood-curdling sound of two cats banging outside? No, obviously not, otherwise you just choose to prefer everything. Even though you can choose what to listen to, the preference itself, what presses your musical, or foodish, or social buttons, is out of your control.
Yes, you don't have free will, but that doesn't matter. You is your conscious experience. Whether you chose it doesn't make a difference.
So that is also not you. Okay, so we'll push the line over a bit more. You don't control what scares you, you don't control basic survival stuff, you don't control what you enjoy.
What you control doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. You is your direct conscious experience. Even if you control none of it, you still exist. So you are your direct conscious experience. Whether you control any of the things you experience doesn't matter. You are the experience.
Okay, but at least you can choose what your brain is processing, right? Where to put your mind. Yeah, well, not always. If you're a native English speaker or just fluent in English, you're not choosing to understand these words, are you? They're just coming in and your brain is doing the work for you. Like, try to hear these syllables without the meaning. An adequate kitchen. A stationary football. Two cats reenacting a scene from the motion picture Titanic, having provided a rubber ring for the mice. An anthropomorphized dog off for his final exam before qualifying as a lumberjack. A man successfully combining his responsibilities as an accountant with his love of nautical tourism. A man with a hitherto unexplained eye condition attempting to play a piece of music on the abacus while not gripping the abacus correctly. And a doctor who is about to destroy a burger as well as the majority of his left hand with the help of, if I am not mistaken, a silenced Walther PPK. It's impossible because language processing, when you're good enough, is automatic.
That looks like a Beretta. Pretty sure that's a Beretta. Yeah, this is a Walter PPK. This is a Walter PPK. That's a Beretta. That's a Beretta.
Walther PPK. It's impossible because language processing, when you're good enough, is automatic. So that is not you. Okay, Jesus, but what about high-level stuff? What about playing instruments or driving a car? That must take awareness. That can't be automatic. Yeah, okay, probably, for the first while. But if you play an instrument, you may have noticed your fingers just know what they're doing, automatically. Or if you drive, you know it's possible to get from A to B in a car and spend the entire time having an argument in your head with your dad because he still hasn't bought you that fucking Etch-a-Sketch, while never actually thinking about changing gear or pushing the pedals. So high-level motor coordination, when you practice it, can be completely automatic too. Yeah, okay, but at least simple motor tasks are in your control, moving a hand or a leg or whatever. Yeah, or not. Very simply, Benjamin Libet did a fairly famous experiment with getting people to press a button
The
randomly.
Libet's experiment of the free will thingy where you try to press a button after you make a choice and yes, I know the Libet's experiment. Yes, we don't have free will. But that's not the same as you not existing. Like, it seems like he's confusing you being able to make causa sui choices as you not existing. Those are two different things. Rocks exist. Rocks can't make choices. Does the rock not exist because the rock cannot make a choice? No, it still exists. This is a stupid argument.
When they felt like it. He was monitoring their brain activity while they did this. The weird thing is that the brain seems to be preparing to push the button a disturbing length of time before people were reporting choosing to press the button itself. There are problems with this experiment for sure, but it does seem a bit like the systems underneath you, underneath being conscious, might be way more essential than the conscious systems themselves, and that choosing to do stuff is maybe just a game the brain plays afterwards to justify what it was already going to do anyway. Maybe. Okay, so fear isn't you, survival stuff isn't you, preference isn't you, lots of motor control isn't you. Christ, what else is going on in there that isn't you? Well, a fair bit actually, like, oh, you know, balancing when you walk, or falling asleep and waking up, or remembering who you are, or where you are, or when you are, or fetching memories in the first place, or taking all of the perceptions that are coming in through your senses and turning them into a coherent picture of the world that actually makes fucking sense, or even just processing everything at the same time, or processing text, or perceiving color, or just pretty much anything. Most of it is automatic, or at least not mediated by you consciously. Is there anything in your brain that you do control then, you silly, clever mess? Yeah, let's start by you closing your eyes. Go on. Are they closed? They bloody better be. Nothing nasty is going to come up on the screen or anything. Alright? Closed? Cool. If you listen to my voice for a moment and just try to ignore how grating and pretentious it is, if you put everything else out of your mind, all the anxieties and the neuroses, all the sensations of your body, you will find that underneath all of that is nothing but awareness. There's no obvious you on the inside, there's no tiny cat pulling levers and pressing buttons, there's no center to being conscious. It's just presence, it's just awareness. There are sensations and awareness of sensations, and then processes, probably most of them automatic. You, as a thing, don't seem to have a center if you look for one. You, conscious you, do not really exist, not concretely, to be very simple.
That's literally stupid. Your consciousness definitely concretely exists. It's literally a physical thing. Consciousness is a thing in the brain. It exists. You have direct experience. What you can control doesn't make a difference to your existence. I already debunked this like 5 minutes ago.
About it. That is the idea, anyway. Go on then, open your eyes, you scallywag. Another automatic process in the brain might be the system that says, I am a thing with a centered self. There is something on the inside doing the experiencing, and it is me. But maybe there isn't. Maybe there just fucking isn't. And what then? Well, insulting sign-off followed by jaunty classical music. Domination.
It's stupid. I think therefore I am. Debunked.
Hang on a second. Look, even if you are kind of a lie, which you might be, me too, you are still self-aware, whatever happens. And that is pretty unique. We don't know how self-aware other animals are. Almost no animals recognize their reflection for some reason, except maybe some of the great apes, possibly dolphins, elephants, and magpies for some reason. But a bigger question is if there are other species in the universe, and there probably are, and if they've been around a while, and they probably have, are they self-aware? We always seem to make out that advanced aliens will have gone down similar lines to us, starting as cells, going up and up, building fast food joints, smoking doobies, etc. But would they be self-aware necessarily? Like, maybe evolution accidentally made some higher mammals on Earth self-aware because it's better for problem solving or something in this one case. Maybe it was just one of those weird drunken experiments nature undertakes sometimes, like platypuses or Winchester. Maybe we just got really lucky. This might be a one-time trick in the universe and we got to take it for a test drive. And that really gets one thinking, because what we need is a global holiday, and we'll call it Being Alive is Fucking Cool Day, where everyone gets the day off and just for a bit, even for a few hours, takes the time to remember that everyone you meet, however shit, is kind of a miracle in plain sight. And on Global Being Alive is Fucking Cool Day, we'll all eat donuts and take leisurely
This guy hasn't met Darth Hawkins.
strolls in the park and be cool to everyone, and around 3 o'clock solemnly put our hands on our hearts and pledge the following: that as the sperm that won the race, as the mud that woke up, as a blob of carbon currently taking the shape of a human, I do declare that the world is fucking cool and being self-aware is fucking cool, and I shall henceforth hold doors open for people and fill pints right up to the top with only minimal foam and endeavour not to be a knob unless it's absolutely necessary, and I do hereby furthermore declare that getting bored in a universe this weird is unacceptable, and if that happens, I should probably take up the tuba or organise a water fight. We shall have bad days, yes? We shall have good days, yes? All the while remembering that most things in the universe don't even have fucking days at all. Even if it's all a facade, there is something on the inside that knows it's a thing. And that is the cat's pajamas. That is the veritable lobster's bottom. Oh, and there'll be hats and free beer and bouncy castles. And I will see you there, carbon units. Russivapur, Biob, now gutter for all.
Our species probably began about 200,000 years ago, and judging by the fucking state of us, I think we can all agree it was a terrible idea. We are called Homo sapiens, but we were not the first human-like creatures on the planet, however. Homo habilis were making tools about 2 million years ago, Homo heidelbergensis were building shelters about 700,000 years ago, Neanderthals were probably just as brainy as us. They wore jewelry, maybe buried their dead, and always passed the joint to the left. There were at least 15 other human species we know about, and now they are all gone. The last 3 surviving species of human were Neanderthals, who probably died out about 30,000 years ago, Homo floresiensis, who disappeared about 12,000 years ago, and us, Homo sapiens, aka bipedal bastards. And if you hadn't noticed, we are still here. So where be them other hominids, yo? Neanderthals, for example. Neanderthals were probably stronger than us, a bit taller, with a rather different skull, and a bigger brain. Then why are they gone? You see, old Gary Neanderthal might have been a smarty pants, but we had a secret weapon, which is mouthy word noises. Speech is fine for dissing and cussing, but it lets you do other stuff, like organize. This allows you to, as the evolutionary biologists put it, fuck shit up! Neanderthals were hanging about in Europe doing crochet, cracking open cold ones, until around 45,000 years ago, when us sapiens turned up coming from East Africa. And within 5,000 years of meeting us, they were gone. All of them. Combine that with the fact that we can make big wordy noises, were socially complex, and probably had domesticated doggos at some point for help, and we were a force to be reckoned with. So that was that. We were bumming around for a while as hunter-gatherers, the land was often barren, the climate was often hostile, death lurked everywhere, so Portsmouth, basically. But it really wasn't all bad. We think the average work week might have been around 20 to 40 hours. Their diet was probably quite varied. Vegetables, fruit, nuts, insects, borzar, whatever they could find. And they weren't idiots. Most members of the tribe had to know the core skills of survival. Which berries will make you dead immediately, how to remember the terrain, how to build tools, how to stay alive, They were generalists. They had to be. Anyway, that went on for a few 100,000 years until we got around to developing agriculture, probably about 12,000 years ago. And suddenly, if we don't find food, we'll all die, turned into, if you eat my food, you'll die, then into, I'm full, but I'll eat some more. And then into, yeah, I'll have the gluten-free macaroon and the lactose-free avocado shake. Merci beaucoup. And then we went off to build society. How? Scrawny, breakable, generally pathetic, but enough about myself. We are not a formidable species physically, but we can do language. And if you can do language, then you can do myths. And if you can do myths, then you can conquer the world. You will own at least hundreds of thousands of objects in your life, because you believe in a myth called money. If you give me this paper and the number is right, I will give you stuff. And the myth works because most of us agree to play by the rules. The same applies to universities, governments, nations, whatever it is. It's not that these things are lies, it's just that they're abstractions that only live in our heads. And if you don't have language, you can't do them. You really can't. And if you can't do them, you can't do big societies. Language is probably the gateway to civilization. And now, we own the fucking world. But it's been quite a journey. There is some evidence that around 100,000 years ago, the human species bottlenecked to somewhere between 3,000 and 10,000 humans in the entire world. By definition, that made us an endangered species, teetering on the edge of extinction. One theory holds that this was thanks to a supervolcano in Lake Toba, Indonesia, possibly bringing in a volcanic winter. And even if that wasn't the cause, disease, strife, famine, ignorance, and hardship weren't occasional visitors to the human condition, they were the human condition for most of our history. But here we are now, a most populated planet. For better or worse, we have arrived. It took 200,000 years to get to our first billion humans, that was in 1804, but then we jumped to 2 billion in 1927, and then 3 billion in 1959, 4 billion in 1974, and finally 7 billion in 2007. And now, we are invincible. We've outsmarted time, we've outsmarted death, we've outsmarted the crops and disease and the weather. The state of the human union is strong. What could possibly go wrong now? 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 What could possibly go wrong now?
I met a traveller from an antique land who said two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions red, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Homo sapiens, hominid of hominids. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
We have been working over this in like the first video. We done yet?
Well, then again. In 1977, a probe was launched into space called Voyager 1. 41 years later, Voyager 1 is travelling away from us at about 38,000 miles an hour and is now 13 billion miles distant. And aboard Voyager is a message from Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States. And the message reads, "This is a present from a small, distant world. A token of our sounds, our science, our images, our music, our thoughts, and our feelings. We are attempting to survive our time so we may live into yours. We hope someday, having solved the problems we face, to join a community of galactic civilizations. This record represents our hope and our determination and our goodwill in a vast and awesome universe." And were we able to include just a few more lines in that message to tell our spacey friends a little more about ourselves and our deep history and our ambitions and our ancestors, and just maybe we'd say that, wow, P.S. we think shit went down like this. Life probably began on our planet about 4 billion years ago as simple organic machines. We don't know how yet. Then a sudden explosion of diversity 500 million years ago. 50 million more years and plants are taking the land over. 50 million more and insects have arrived. Next, the dinosaurs are taking the stage, 700 species at least, ruling the planet for around 145 million years before something, possibly asteroid-shaped, wipes them out. But it's okay because here come bats and butterflies, giraffes, bears, hyenas, sloths, vultures, mammoths, turtles! You fucking name it. And then the rise of the primates, and 2 million years ago appear our first true true ancestor, Homo habilis, and at least 15 other species of the Homo genus spreading out across the world, until about 200,000 years ago when a new genus, our genus, emerges. Homo sapiens, large-brained organisers, talkers, thinkers, capable of high abstraction, of building tribes and cities and nation-states, capable of ending the world in a day. We have stepped into an age of great technological potency, though there are gaping holes in our wisdom. We've become a global superorganism, though we still harbour our tribal inclinations. We've pulled a bunch of fuck-ups, and we're really quite confused and alone, and frankly scared. But we hope to enjoy the privilege of being a semicolon in history, rather than a full stop. So on behalf of the 150 billion who came before us, and our human cousins who didn't make it, we just hope this message finds you well. And we hope, when you find us, thousands of years from now, that we are well too. In any case, please just write back. It's dark out here.
If I was going to send messages to
In the beginning,
aliens, I would probably send something more like my objective model of morality. That's something I would want to be universally known. Origin of species, who gives a shit? Don't really care. What we need is objective morality. That's the thing we need all aliens in the universe to know.
was the word, and the word was... What? I don't know. Bird? Omelette? Vajazzle? Who knows? But there was stuff, and some guys in ancient Greece wanted to know why there was stuff. So they invented philosophy, which means literally love of wisdom, or in some translations, I hate this degree, but science had loads of numbers in it. Now, to begin with, there were these guys called the pre-Socratics, and they mostly sat around pondering stuff like what is the nature of the universe, what regulates physical processes, which slave should I pork next, etc. And that was fine, but everything really got going when this guy turned up either called Socrates, Socrates, or as we shall henceforth refer to him, Billy Big Bollocks. He mostly wandered around Greece asking irritating questions, and Athens got quite pissed about this and sentenced him to not living. He also never wrote anything down, but luckily his student Plato did, and crafted a fairly whack philosophy that still shapes our lives today. So let's do part of it really quickly. This is a cat, this is a cat, this is a cat also. They're all different cats, but we still get their cats, so there must be a perfect cat living in some perfect realm above us that all cats are made from. He also had a student called Aristotle who did nothing that spectacular, just basically shaped, modern logic. Aristotle also argued that what separates humans from the animal kingdom is our ability to reason, and not much else, an idea you will find everywhere in the modern age. Not bad, chaps, and now you're all dead. However, the Greeks left a legacy behind that we still feel today. Stuff like hedonism, which back then didn't mean being a selfish dick, but rather just maximizing your own pleasure and being cheerful. Atomism, which is where we originally got the idea of, look at those little guys. They're nice, aren't they? And then skepticism, which, I'd like to see some bloody proof for that one, if I'm honest. Anyway, the Dark Ages came along and fuck all happened in Europe for about 1,000 years. Well, it did, obviously. We're just not going to talk about it. And around the 11th century, universities as we know them popped up in Spain, France, and England represent. And for the next few centuries, everyone was into this thing called scholasticism, which was basically quite gaudy and was all about trying to marry ancient Greek thought to Christian thought with, shall we say, varying results. This bloke St. Anselm came up with the ontological argument for the proof of God, which people still use today, and it goes a little like this. Imagine a perfect video game. The idea of a perfect video game would be even more perfect if it actually existed, which would make it super duper perfect. Therefore, a perfect video game must exist. So where the fuck is it, Gabe? About a century later, we get Occam's razor, which goes something like, why is France a thing? Well, either malevolent aliens came down in the night yesterday, created France and all of its peoples, and altered all of world history in a conspiratorial attempt to subvert the course of pastry forever, or, possibility 2, maybe it's just been there for ages, so maybe it's just been there for ages. The simpler explanation is generally the correct one. The Black Death then kindly wiped out about 40% of Europeans, and everyone got a bit health conscious. Around the 15th century, everyone stopped getting wankered every day and switched to coffee, which maybe contributed to the Renaissance, which literally means rebirth, where we got all nostalgic for the Greeks and Romans again. Columbus discovered some shit, Da Vinci drew some shit, Shakespeare wrote some shit, things were really picking up. During the 18th century, the Age of Enlightenment began, and modern philosophy took shape. And if you've ever heard someone yell at a philosophy major, yeah, but if you work in Starbucks, do you really exist? Well, you can thank a single Frenchman for this called René Descartes, or René Descartes. And one of his big ideas was, very, very briefly, let's assume we doubt everything. What can we know for certain? Well, does the world exist? Dunno. Does my country exist? Dunno. Does Gilbert Gottfried exist? Dunno. Do I exist? Dunno. Am I thinking? Yes. Does that mean I exist? Yes. Is the answer Gilbert Gottfried? What? No. Does it have a tail? No, that doesn't even... What are you talking about? Then even if everything is a dream and everyone else is fictional, at least I know I'm a thing because I'm thinking, which must mean I think, therefore I... Wait, is it Emma Stone? No, for fuck's sake! Meanwhile, over in Britain, John Locke and David Hume are cooking up this thing called empiricism, which mostly said, look, knowledge comes from the outside world, not sitting around smoking a fatty and having a think, you idiots. There's also some other stuff going on. Thomas Hobbes, who's also British, represent, says humans are nasty by nature and we need the social contract. Adam Smith more or less invented modern economics. And in 1724, Immanuel Kant was born, who we shall henceforth refer to as Walter Bigwang, and proceeded to tear philosophy a new one. Don't be silly, he said. Rationalism and empiricism can work together. Everyone just shut up, read my books, be cool. By the way, humans have categories in their heads which define how they perceive the world and will never be able to experience the really real world because we're not God. If you want to be moral, just act in a way that if everyone did it, it would be alright. And finally, check yourself before you wreck yourself, wash your hands after toilet time, mic drop, choose. This sparked a whole new movement in philosophy called German idealism. The king of that cartel was a guy called Hegel, and mostly they all wanted to know what you can know about objects that we know you can't know anything about, because we can't know anything about them. Over in America, pragmatism is getting started, which went something like, alright Europe, lovely ideas, but do they work in practice? If yes, good. If not, then maybe just... Shut the fuck up. Natural philosophy, which was the study of the natural world, by then is being called science. Science also now has the scientific method, the basic rules of which are, if you notice weird shit, think about why it happened. Test your theory. If your theory works, let other people check it, and if it doesn't, then... yeah, well done, anyway. Have a biscuit or something. Meanwhile, German philosopher and all-around nice guy Nietzsche hated everyone, including God, who he killed, and said that civilization was heading towards catastrophe, and there's no structure to the world except what we give it, which will be important in a moment. P.S. Nothing means anything, and we're all gonna die. And we're into the 20th century. By now, philosophy has official categories, namely epistemology, can we know shit? Metaphysics, how does shit ultimately work? Ethics, how do we know good shit from bad shit? Logic, how do we reason shit? And aesthetics, why does shit look so nice? And there are loads of new movements popping up, such as existentialism, which said, look, you're free in the world, and that might suck, but just roll with it, mate. You can define yourself. And people started asking lots of questions, like how does sentience work? And are there such things as human rights? And no, seriously, is it Gilbert Gottfried? And there's this thing happening called postmodernism, which, well, it's hard to... yeah. Okay, so there was modernism, right? Look at this. It's modern, isn't it? There are rules and form and stuff, and eventually some people got bored of it and said, well, there's no real narrative to anything, and everything is interpretation, except for that statement, for some reason, and stuff like this happened. And this. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, where are we now? Well, recently, philosophy has largely boiled down to moral questions. Is abortion alright? How should you run a society? Can we use science to determine morality? And that's the state of things today. These days, science is hoovering up lots of big questions that started in philosophy, like what is matter made of, and how do living things work, and stuff. And even if you think philosophy has no purpose anymore, that's fine. But it did once. There was a time when it was the mother of almost all knowledge, and if you should be so brave, or silly, as to embark on your own undergraduate adventure in philosophy, and people wish you all the best with a future career in telemarketing, just quietly remember that there is yet work to be done. We still don't know what we're doing here, consciousness is still a mystery, the origin of matter is still a mystery. So you hear that, Dad? With reference to all your bullshit, Dad? Well, yeah, I might be nearing 30, and fine, I picked the wrong degree, I get it, and no, I still don't know what the stock market is, or when the post comes, or how to shave my testicles without inadvertently castrating myself, but by the power of Grayskull, if someone held us up at gunpoint and shouted, you better extensively explain Aristotle's position on dogs, or you're both fucking dead, let's just say I'd be walking home a hero that night, so put that in your pipe and smoke it, Dad. Not so fucking funny anymore, is it, Dad? Who's laughing now, Dad? And if you could maybe just hurry up and send me that money for rent, that'd be great.
All right. So I didn't have anything substantive to add to any of those. But got paid to do a review, so I did my review. Now I'm done. I'm gonna go take a nap.